Yo, I have been so excited to make this video. I can't believe the amount of subscribers that came in just recently. I mean, I went from, I think 80 something, climbing just a few subscribers, to past 100 within like 20 hours, or not 20, but less than 2 days. And I was not ready for that. I mean, with Christmas coming around, I've been real busy and stuff, like always, but dang. And now I'm at 121, so shoutouts to all the subscribers, all the new people. I hope you guys are enjoying the videos and like the direction it's going in, especially as I keep going more towards like authentic numbers and math values that like can really showcase how strong some of these verses are compared to each other or just within themselves for clear understandings of things and different feats. You know, the real push to be accurate and stuff. Hope everything is appreciated and everything like that. Really appreciate you guys. Yeah, shoutouts to like the real first 100 subscribers that really came and joined and have stayed and enjoyed the videos so far. I've talked to quite a few of you, even across Discord and everything. It's been great, and we're gonna keep on pushing. So yeah, we're gonna finish off from where we started the last time. Continue on with early Yu Yu Hakusho scaling. And last we left off was Yusuke getting 2 huge amps against Rando. One when he exceeded his own power by about 30%, but with only like 10% of his actual rate energy, which translates into that very power. And then secondarily when he massively exploded exponentially above that, where he could destroy, like kill all the demon fish, destroy the yokai threads tying him up, and blow up a huge amount of water with just his aura alone. And everything that we've covered from Goki till now has been from the scaling of the low, like very low D class, all the way to mid D class. And so with D class, we will continue. So now Yusuke is going to train with Genkai, and here's the thing is Genkai, of course, as anybody would know who's seen the series, she's actually a B class ranked fighter, and she knows her stuff. Yusuke will be training with her, and he ends up training, as you'll see, for half a month. So 2 weeks, not the longest time, but more than he's ever trained before, because Yusuke has never trained, and he is training with a master, somebody who's vastly above him. You can see here, like, she's training him for 2 weeks, but 12 of the hours is him focusing his own power, being able to use energy in a defensive sense as well, because one of the things about Ray energy, or just energy in general with Yu Yu Hakusho, because there's demon energy as well, is that it is both your offense and your defense. Yu Yu Hakusho scales equally so, and not just energy you can give off in AP, but as well as your durability, speed, and everything else. You'll see this further going on, where the durability and like how your energy protects you, more clear cut later, but this is a good start. Now as we go on, we can see a new technique where Yusuke can fire off what is known as shotgun. And we can see that he can fire off a multitude of spirit guns at a pretty low level if he needs it to be. And we'll see later that he can fire them off at like full power spirit guns. But this is his new ability that he's learned. Now for Kuwabara, we can see what's more is his sensing ability has also gone up. So Kuwabara, you can see in the top left scan, he's sensing, and he can sense a strange Reiki energy in the area. Not that way he can see, but that it's not of a human's like Reiki energy. Now this is impressive because Botan is able to knock this person out with a bat. A normal bat, she is not ever shown to be above even normal human strength. And we can see that the demon's weak, right? The demon is very, very weak, and he can still sense his power. without even being able to have actually seen him. So his sensing is improving. It's still not near on the level of like Genkai's level or anything of that nature, but we can see some improvements. Now what we do learn is about the Saint Beasts and what they're trying to do, and they want to move into the Genkai. Now I want to show on this picture here, you can actually see the size of the city beneath the castle and how massive this castle is. Take your time if you need to, but what you can see here is that it looks to be built on the base of a mountain, or maybe perhaps it's like a plateau area that it was built on. Right, but it's like a sloping area down where you can see the city, and off to like the left area on the back end of the castle, you can see that it seems to be on like the almost like a plateau area. Additionally, in the background, you can see mountains. Now, this would be much closer to us, therefore it's a lot bigger to us compared to the mountains. But this castle is very, very large. I will cover this more, but this castle is the size of it's potentially, very easily to be like the size of a small mountain on its own. Right, so if we look at pictures of mountains compared to cities, you'll also get an idea of this. Now, to make it clear, the castle itself isn't like the full size of a mountain. I shouldn't have said that. The entire base plus the castle would be like the size of a mountain. The castle itself, however, is enormous, is the point. Because if you look at the very top, that section there that ends up getting blown up, not the entire thing, mind you, you'll see the feats. I just want to make it clear. Compared to the size of a mountain, that's an enormous amount, actually. But we'll get to that. So here you can see a bit more in terms of the size. This is just the gate. When they first approach it, you can see that they are extremely tiny compared to like just the entrance gate. That would be, if we go back to the previous picture, you wouldn't even be able to see the gate. It'd be at the very bottom, lower than like the trees that take up that space. And it's just a massive castle. Okay, so when we go on, we can see that we have Kurama versus the first Saint Beast, Genbu. Genbu is the weakest of the Saint Beasts. He is so weak that he is the only one that is able to actually go and talk to any of the yokai apparitions that live in the city outside that worship them. Right? Now, an important thing is that Kurama actually can basically no-diff this opponent. He's vastly superior to Genbu. The only thing that ends up ever happening is that we find out that Genbu can regenerate himself, and he kind of surprise attacks Kurama once, but past that, even while injured, Kurama easily dispatches him. Does take one cut through the stomach, not even as much as what he took when he tanked the sword slash that, you know, Hiei was about to go for Yusuke when Hiei was still the bad guy, right? But we have Kuwabara versus Byakko. So Byakko is the first person who's too strong to even leave the castle. We also get more scaling in size of the castle. This castle is enormous, massive. This is not like on a human scale, like sized castle here. Now when we go on to Kuwabara versus Byakko, we can see that Byakko is approximately 3 meters tall, right? Once again, the castle is enormous when you scale Byakko. Look at Byakko compared to the castle. But he's about 3 meters tall, right? And he is very, very powerful compared to even Genbu. Problem is, as he fights Kuwabara, we eventually get to this part where he can't absorb Kuwabara's energy anymore. And he literally blows up, like, internally. And he flies up, and once again, you can see the size of the castle here, just how small he is. We can see Kurama saying that Kuwabara's Reiki energy slightly exceeded what Byakko could bear, with his being able to absorb energy attacks. And so he just kept eating his energy and eating his energy before he literally internally exploded. Well, we end up seeing that Byakko is totally unharmed. Like, fully, completely unharmed by it. And he invites him into his, what he calls, like, pit of horrors, right? Where we're gonna ask a question. Is this lava? So we see here, we have like Yusuke, like, wow, it's a hot pot of horrors. If we drop down there, we wouldn't even have a body left. And we see Kuwabara and Yusuke sweating. Now, we have hot pot of horrors. Talking about wouldn't have a body left, and they are sweating. This seems to indicate heat. It does look like it's bubbling, based on something like lava. It makes sense. Well, we will continue. I want to address this because a lot of people have been trying to claim that it's not lava. Maybe it's not. Well, let's keep looking. So here you'll see, essentially Kuwabara jumped down, ready to fight, and this is the weakest of evidence going on here, but we see the cliche, I'm going to fall into lava, oh man, I barely survived, looking down at lava thing. However, this inherently is the weakest one. We don't see that it's actually like lava again, except for the fact that he once again takes off his jacket and says, it's quite warm here though. So if it's not lava, what material is it, or like what means of matter is it that, you know, is destroying objects that fall into it, that is heat based, such that it's causing sweat and people to take off their jackets. And now we even have a cliche based around a certain thing called lava, if it's supposed to not be lava. So, you know, tell me what it's supposed to be, basically, is the point. Now, to stop addressing the lava thing, I'll get back to it once this fight is over, but just keep it in the back of your mind. Like, does it make sense that this is lava? And if it's not, what is it? What most likely is it then? But onto the fight again. So we see here an impressive feat, a very, very impressive feat from Byakko. He uses his special attack, finally, and Kuwabara's like, I'll just bat it away, and he's like, Kurama's like, no, back, you know, leave. And we can see this thing hit the top platform of one of these pillars. Now, to give you an idea on the size of these pillars, and the size of the, his attack there, special attack, I forgot what it was called. Remember that Byakko is about 3 meters. Now, he's obviously taller than the platform, but in total volume, right, which is not just the height, but width and length, it is much thicker than him, it's longer than him, but not as tall as him. It takes more volume than a total Byakko, right? You could fit a Byakko within the top pillar. So, thinking about volume here, and then think about the volume of the ball here, in the very middle, bottom one, panel here, you can see the size of it compared to one of the pillars. So it takes up, in total volume, a pretty small section. How many of those attacks would fit within it, right? Because it ends up vaporizing the entire thing. I suppose very fine, like, pulverization if you want to make it weaker, as he's talking about reducing anything it touches into dust rather than like vaping. So you could also say that. But we can see, like, in the middle panel there, like, it really is, like, it's less than even powder dust. So very, very strong, even for its size, especially for its size. And so, of course, Kuwabara has to dodge away from it, and he eventually manages to jump the full distance that he needs to while he's, you know, trying to get past some of his extra special attacks again. And he has to jump like 10 meters to get to him. And when he goes to jump the 10 meters, of course he uses what we see that he can do, which is he can extend his spirit sword. He uses it as a pole vault to actually jump the full 10 meters and reach into Byakko with enough force that he can actually punch him. Now, this essentially ends it because, once more, is it lava? Because now we have Byakko fall into it and we can see steam rising up. It's certainly heat-based. Now, the only thing is that it's never verbatim called lava. It is shown to be lava in the anime, but that's not canon. But by what means could you possibly say it's not lava? If you want to say it's like some super special acid, it would seem to only be more powerful than lava then, because it can reduce... By the way, lava doesn't melt someone to nothing, like, in a quick fashion, actually, believe it or not. But if you want to lowball, you would say this is actually lava. Regardless, the main point here is that Byakko falls into what I will now continue to call lava, sinking all the way through it, which is the one feat, mind you, that would suggest it's not lava, because lava, you don't actually sink through it like that. Perhaps it's his massive weight that allows him to go through it, but lava is not so liquidy. But we can see later, as we continue on, Byakko was much above Genbu. They're both still D class, but he survives it. As we saw, fully submerged, walks out, and we have Seiryu going, he's gonna be the next person for them to fight. Let's get into some actual scaling again. Now, something actually important here is that we're gonna see Seiryu easily one-shot Byakko. Now, to be fair, Byakko was injured, but he wasn't so injured to where his durability, his flesh and everything, he was burnt, he was singed, but he actually shatters him effortlessly, through his entire body. If you want to say he could have resisted it while fully, full force with his Reiki, that is possible. But just keep in mind, it wasn't like he struggled to kill him even a little bit. This was a one-shot. Now, to address, he says firing hundreds of 0°C punches in a split second. There are multiple translations on this, and I will not bother covering that to say that that is the full translation. Rather, there are, at the lowest end, you can say that he can fire off 0°C punches within a second. You could even maybe say, I believe there's some where you just say a low ball would be 100 instead of hundreds. Some say 200 within it. Point is this isn't needed for scaling, so I won't address it too much right now, but perhaps in a future video. However, what's really impressive here is Seiryu is the second strongest Saint Beast, and he is much, much stronger than Genbu. Now, mind you, there's nothing to suggest that Genbu is too much above Rando, or that even Byakko would be too much above Rando. If at all, maybe they're approximately equal. But to make it very clear here, Yusuke has gone through a 2-week training period, and in this manga they use this period to vastly amp everybody. Kuwabara has vastly gotten better, showing that he can fully, use his spirit gun on his own, doesn't need the wooden sword anymore that has the holy chi within it. Yusuke has a bunch of different techniques now, or not a bunch rather, but he has a new technique and has gotten a lot more powerful. And then we got to see Kurama low diff somebody who would be around Rando's level. Honestly, Genbu would probably have taken every single person out but Rando easily, and probably would have given Rando a good fight. Byakko, honestly, probably would have bodied Rando. But let's just say that they're all comparable. Let's just say everybody's comparable to Rando here. Well, here's Hiei versus Seiryu. Even if you want to say Seiryu if you want to say he is comparable to Rando, this is the fight. That's the panels. I'm not skipping anything, right? Let me go back again. So from the beginning, he's ready to fight, and that's the next panel. He's cut through him. Except we only got to see the first cut. Actually, he cut through him 16 times. This is the entirety of the fight. The anime actually prolongs it for anyone who has seen how short of a fight that was. He doesn't even get tagged. Someone who can fire off at minimum 100 0°C punches within a second. Hiei annihilates him. Hiei would do this to Rando effortlessly. He one-shot him within the first slice. This was 16 just because. Now, to make this very clear, he didn't punch him 16 times. He cut through his entire body. Now, this will be more for the mathematics end when I get to that part of the video, but I want to make it clear, he didn't just make contact, he didn't tap him with the sword 16 times. The arc and full degrees motion of swings required for him to do this, and the resistance of his body. This is, if he can punch 100 times in a second, at the absolute biggest low end you can do for Seiryu, Hiei is so disgustingly, massively faster and above this person on every single degree that this is once more an insane exponential increase. Now, you would say here, oh, okay, but they've gone up a class. But they haven't, and this is why the class is such an exponential increase. Hiei here is still the same class in terms of classifications of power. Hiei is still the same class as when Yusuke first fought Goki at the very beginning of the first video. Right? That's insane. So, that is the entirety of the fight. And what's even more important is Kuwabara is like, when did he start chopping? I couldn't see anything at all. He's the same classification. Kurama, I only saw the first stroke too. Same classification. And Yusuke is like, holy, fast. And what's more, Kurama asks, how many times did you attack him, cut him in half? How many times? He doesn't even know. And he tells him, he's like, here's something important. He says, 16. I believe another translation is like, only 16. Only, like, it was even more casual. But let's just say he try-harded it. Yusuke's like, 16, I lost track by half that amount. So, Yusuke, after all this training, could only keep track of half of Hiei's movements, right? At this point, we can see that Yusuke, even after his training, is beneath Hiei. This is important because, once more, this boy gets amped. But for now, if that was supposed to be like what Hiei would do to Rando, and he absolutely, disgustingly would, Yusuke being able to even keep track of like half of that, or keep up with half of that at all, is already vastly, disgustingly above what he was in the Genkai tournament. But we'll see feats that prove this. Hiei, for sure, has gone up many exponential increases since we've last seen him. Now, going on to Suzaku, the strongest of them all, we'll just start it right off with the feats. First off is the fact that Suzaku talks about his speed and comments that Yusuke is very fast. Now, when he actually jumps into the air to escape his punches, note, Suzaku is blocking all of his punches with one hand. And he throws out his spirit gun, and with that, he also punches that away with one hand. Now note, if you remember me talking about the size of the castle, consider the size of this explosion, what this castle is actually made of, and the amount of actual destruction that's behind something the size of that spirit gun. So you can see the size of it compared to Suzaku there. It's maybe in total volume the size of like his entire forearm, or I mean his entire arm. And something the size of that in volume managed to make the explosion that massive in the bottom left. Again, going back to the size of this castle. This is also exponentially higher than anything we have seen before. Exponentially. Note, compare his spirit gun, the last spirit gun we had seen before this. Do you remember? I'll put it up. It was when he hit that, shoot, I forgot his name. The one guy went in Genkai's tournament, who had the metal helmet on. That was the last spirit gun we saw. Now look at the explosions it's able to put off. That's an astronomical difference. And he's still D-class. So now, as we go on, we see that it kind of singes his hand. And he's talking about like, I haven't had a numb hand in ages. with Yusuke saying, like, unbelievable, the new and improved ray gun after training at the old lady's Genkai. He's like, you know, he's shocked that that's all, like, he was just able to bat it away with a hand. Well, this is the whole point, is like, he's gone up in a massive amount of power. Here's the new bad guy, and he's still much, much more powerful than you. So, to give you an idea, this is the point. Rando isn't even on this guy's radar. Not even close. In fact, this is why Seiryu is way above Rando's level. And yet, even if you took Seiryu at Rando's level, we have someone like Hiei who is so disgustingly above him that we can see once more a huge exponential increase. And this is once more me showing that this is simply how Yu Yu Hakusho scales. Well, it's even more than that. As I said, Seiryu's much more than Rando. But let's continue with Suzaku. We can see here that he can pull actual natural lightning down to himself and use it, where he can mix his Yoki energy with it to empower the natural lightning, such that, as we can see here, it's stated, normal humans will be reduced to cinders by mere touch alone. Now, how powerful is this? I want to make it clear, one, but I thought we don't accept statements. You know, it needs to be proven. Correct. And this is why it's important. If Seiryu is able to one-shot someone of Byakko's level so casually, even if he had to exert himself, Byakko could walk himself or swim himself fully submerged out of lava with mere singes on his body. So this is talking about like being able to, you know, turn normal humans to cinders with a touch. Now, to make this clear, Byakko being able to survive what he did and Suzaku being so much above him is backing this statement. This is a statement backed by feats and scaling. In the mathematical section that will be following this in my respect thread, I will be covering just how impressive this actually is. Continuing on, remember how I was talking about ray energy is used for defense as well? We can see that it barely grazes Yusuke, and he gets electrocuted, and he says that it feels like there's a poisonous kind of electricity pulsing throughout. Well, Suzaku then says, well, you're protected by a surprisingly strong layer of Reiki. You're the first human to have come into contact with my attack without dying knight. This is the point, is that Reiki doubles as a defense, as Genkai was trying to train him to, you know, be better adept at using his Reiki defensively. Once more, we can even see it here when he actually goes in and takes a direct hit by focusing in his ray energy into a single point, and then following up with using his fist in the same way to actually empower it for offense now and hit him. And so, I mean, to further go, we can see here, like Yusuke hits him, you know, he's looking pretty confident, and Suzaku is, oh, you gathered your Reiki onto the fist to form a wall of defense. You know, we can see verbatim how it works with Yu Yu Hakusho. And Yusuke's starting to ramp himself up. He's starting to power himself up. However, as Suzaku actually starts pissing him off, because that's how it always works, to note, I'm not just saying pisses him off just to like shortcut it. His girlfriend Keiko with Botan is in danger with their life, and he has been egging him on, saying like, hey, we're gonna watch your girlfriend die together. Ha ha ha, I'm evil, right? But that's where we come across at this point, where Yusuke powers up once more, and Suzaku takes notice. He's faster than before. He can't block him with one hand anymore, and he loses the Makai worm whistle, I believe is what it's called. Knocks it out of his hand. So Suzaku needs to use a new technique, and what he does is very broken and makes 7 perfect clones of himself, all with their own thoughts, full power. They are not split in power, they are all full power, and all equally statted. That's pretty strong, and it gets worse. Now, we can see he actually can make arrows out of the same type of lightning he was using before. And Yusuke puts his Reiki energy around his hands. And here he comes with Yusuke having these 6 attacks. With the last one, the 7th version, just staying back, holding the whistle. And you can see here that they're only a few meters away when we're talking about speed. Yusuke manages to dodge or deflect 5 out of 6 of them from mere meters away. Now, to make this very clear, this is why I talk about things like Kirin or other things. This is using natural lightning. This is why I never claim that certain things are, like, for example, I don't claim that altered lightning is the same speed as natural lightning. Now, to be clear, he is using natural lightning. That's being used. He's even enhancing it. It's not like he's making it weaker. So by all means, you could say it's the speed of natural lightning. You could say that it's faster than natural lightning. You could give those same arguments for something like Kirin or any other given, lightning-based move from any other given series. But dragon-shaped lightning isn't, it's altered lightning. Or arrow-shaped lightning is altered lightning. I don't accept either, and those are just the easiest examples, but I don't accept altered lightning from any series to necessitate that it must be the speed of natural lightning. But for those who want to scale saying that, yes, it makes sense that he's using natural lightning, Yusuke dodges and deflects 5 out of 6 from meters away. Now, to be clear on this, the mathematics end, if you are to do this feat and something is like 1,000 meters away, right? That's one thing. If you're to do it from like 10 meters away, it's quite literally 100 times more impressive. You need to be 100 times faster to be able to do the same thing. This is an insane feat, with or without you accepting that it is lightning speed, because just from what we've seen before with scaling, Yusuke is actually essentially caught up to Hiei's speed. To be clear, Suzaku is not just the strongest, but also the fastest, much faster than even Seiryu. And you could make an argument that Hiei could be faster than Suzaku, but Suzaku would easily keep up. So after this, we have Yusuke, who's been actually starting to blitz Suzaku. He gets hit by the arrow, and now he's injured, and so he's captured. Now Suzaku says, you know what, I'm just gonna actually kill you. I'm just going to turn, we're done here. And Yusuke's like, I'm losing consciousness, he's being electrocuted. But then he has one more huge power-up, where he thinks back to his training with Genkai. And it shows that, he's always holding back because he's a protagonist. He needs to be holding back, he needs to have some sort of limiters on him so that he can have moments like this, where we see that he actually has plenty of energy left. He just isn't pulling all of it out. And this is kind of going back into what Genkai's showing. It's like, even if anger is mixed with confusion, you're still able to show such strong powers. If you do it for real and concentrate, your powers will be boundless, yada yada. Well, now, with his little flashback, he can overpower 2 full power Suzakus within just the energy of each individual fist. Right? We can see here Suzaku even saying, Reiki stronger than what was gathered before on his fist to defeat 2 of me. And the panel above that proves that. He's not just saying the statement for nothing. This would be another astronomical difference in power. He went from, I cannot overpower you even with everything, including a spirit gun, to now I can actually blow back in, full power Suzakus with enough power split among 2, just each individual fist. And so now, Suzaku goes to shoot off his 6, arrows again, but he's like, I don't have enough electricity. I can't form my full lightning attacks anymore. And now Yusuke can finally use his shotgun. Now shotgun, to be clear, fires off spirit guns. It's a plurality of spirit gun being fired off. That's all shotgun is. And it's strong enough here with him being amped now to one-shot each and every Suzaku except for one. With him saying, "Apologies, I'm the only one to have not received a fatal wound among the 7. Your destructive powers are impressive, but you have poor accuracy." Here's the thing. For him to now be so strong, he can easily blow back one and one-shot Suzakus. You have to understand, this is once more like an insane increase in power. Like, showing the feat, not just where it was obvious that he just got an insane increase of power, where he couldn't even take. First, we have 2 power-ups here. One is he went from he can easily block me with one hand and knock away my spirit gun with one hand, to oh, now he's sped up, he's gotten faster, and now I can't block him with one hand, I need 7 of me. Then he powers up here, and now he can blow away individual Suzakus at the same time with just the Reiki gathered in his fist, and one-shot them with a single technique with individual spirit guns. This is the exponential increases, as this is still, once more, all within the same class. So he continues to go, and here we can see Suzaku can actually revive all 7 perfect health and take the Reiki from the other actual full power perfect clones of himself, and then just fully heal and again make all 7 once more. So what is Yusuke going to do? Because let me go back and show. Yusuke saying, "Humph, don't try to be so strong. You're full of injuries yourself." And Yusuke is essentially out of energy and very injured. And Suzaku now has fully healed. So what is he going, what's he supposed to do? We can see here, they're getting to the top floor. And at some point, Yusuke is seeing Keiko about to die. And he's like, "I still have more. I haven't used up all my energy yet." And they're like, "What the? This can't be. Where did he get this power? He's using all his life as fuel." And so this is something called life energy. This is not spirit energy, demon energy, or anything like that. And he's like, "A power stronger than ever before." And he goes to try and use a special technique to take out Yusuke first. The thing is that he does once more another shotgun, and he takes out all of them, all 7 once more. This is once more another amp that we can see that he can get out of using life energy. And here we can see his shotgun creates an explosion of immense, size. All of this is to show that he has gotten, at minimum here, 10 times stronger than when he fought Rando. This is quite obvious, honestly. This is the biggest power jump we've seen so far, except for maybe from when he went, fighting the ninja guy to, I can, aura blast through the water, killing all the demon fish. I don't know, even from that compared to these feats. I'm using 10 times just to, have an easy round number here. But, again, I'll get to the math later. The idea here is, we can see exponential increases, and they are insane. Now, one more thing to note here, and I can show it, is that the reason I keep saying D-class is because the author himself actually states that towards the beginning of Dark Tournament, Hiei actually gets stronger than this, and he is referred to as a D-class. Now, that isn't always known, and I don't even always accept, if the data book doesn't support feats, then what good is it? Because, again, as I've said before, I'm more personally of a person of, death of the author when I come to the concept. However, there are no feats that suggest a D-class has a certain limit. And even if you want to say that Suzaku reaches into the very bottom of C-class, keep that in mind. that this is the upper limit. This is what it requires to get to the very, very bottom of C class that Yusuke finally rose to. From where he began, beneath Goki of all people. And you would now see how many times more powerful it takes to get from the weakest D class to the weakest C class. Or, we're still in D class, based on if you accept what the author himself is saying, right? We would still be in D class. Now, here we can see that Suzaku is barely alive still, and he's talking about, you know, I always use armor stronger than diamond, and am on my guard even during fighting. Now, diamond, people say, you know, you can easily crush diamond with a hammer. He's talking about, like, his energy Reiki barrier. It's not like a thing to crush. This is actually quite impressive. And you can even see that he's talking about, like, if my Rakoha was in perfect condition, I should be able to reflect an attack like this, suggesting that Suzaku isn't actually, like, weaker than this level. We can see that, you know, he had a sensory fragmentation. He still got one shot, mind you, but he had enough energy that he could have deflected, not just tanked. So Yusuke has gotten strong enough to actually, like, match up in power. But this, again, the scaling is absurd. Okay, so this part will actually be much quicker, but I want to show some sensing. To be clear, after the Saint Beast part, we get to Yusuke and Kuwabara, we have the Rescue Yukina arc, and they are going towards the mansion. They've just gotten onto the property from, like, many, many miles away, and Toguro is able to sense them immediately, the moment they even get on the property. We can see here that they come across a first low-level demon that we can't see, of an unknown level. Like, we have no idea what level he is. To be clear, like, the Saint Beasts that they just defeated were famous and worshipped. Right? So we have, and they were the strongest that we've seen so far. So we have an idea of their power. These people, we have no idea, but we can see that they're literally nothing. Kuwabara slices them into a bunch of pieces casually, and Yusuke fires off a spirit gun and just obliterates him. And Toguro is able to sense it, right? This is all energy sensing. And he's like, you know, Tarukane, the human there, to Toguro, he's like, what is it? You know, because Togoro's like, amazing. He's like, the key of one of my men has disappeared. So the thing is he even says, like, I sense a large power. They have sensing. Very good. In Yu Hakusho, you have very good energy sensing. Now, Tarukane wants to test Toguro, and he thinks, you know, Heron here is considered quite powerful. One of his strongest demons that, you know, he's been able to get. Actually, it's his strongest demon that he's been able to get. Let's get some more scaling. So here we can see Toguro at, like, his 0%, stepping in to fight Heron, and he's like, poor thing. Alright, for him, I'm going to use 30% of my power. Now, to be clear, as we'll see later, this 30% is actually more like 15%. But he goes into, for now, we'll just say the numbers he talks about. 30%. And here we can see it, and he goes to, actually, he just tanks the blow by Heron. Heron here hits Toguro, not the ground, hits Toguro, and shatters the entire area. That is with the kinetic force traveling through Toguro and shattering that much area. And yet, of course, Toguro's uninjured, goes to do a single punch, and this is what we see. That would be what we'll call for now 30% Toguro. But he even says, oh, he could have been 20%. I'm not really sure myself. The thing is that he's always holding back. His real power is always lower than what he says, until he finally, at the very end, goes his absolute full power, backed by a feat, of course. So, this is what 20%, maybe 30% at a false level would be at, compared to Heron and what we could see Heron being able to do. So anyways, we can see that once more we have crazy sensing where, you know, Toguro's like, just this moment I felt the loss of 6 of my men. And they're running through, obliterating everybody, right? Now, another feat we have here is now they're so fast that within a tight corridor, in the bottom right panel, we can see the size of this corridor. It's actually very close by, and you can see the number of people even piled up. They are like taking up the entire width of the hallway, right? So they're all standing shoulder to shoulder, firing bullets. Now, they are so fast that they could not hit them. And they're talking about like, you know, they're so much slower that you can guess where they're going to shoot. That is true. This is not a true speed feat in the sense that they, how do I say it? That they're like outrunning bullets. But it's not necessarily that they're just sensing where the bullets are going to be either. They're shoulder to shoulder, rapid firing in an enclosed space. So, I'm not going to give math numbers on this yet. But, to be clear, once more, we can see that they are, Kuwabara as well, has gotten way exponentially, especially Kuwabara here compared to his past self, exponentially stronger and faster since the Genkai tournament, since we didn't get to see too much of a speed feat against Byakko. Now, later we get 3, the Demon Trio, special, you know, they're supposed to be higher ranked demons, and these ones are very well known, and probably scaled, here we finally have people scaling a little bit below Rando to maybe Rando's level. And we can see Yusuke can just casually like one-shot and just blitz as well, where you find out this the first person's actually a transvestite, and he like gropes her and then feels the junk, the jewels, right? And they couldn't even do anything about it, and then just takes them out with a single punch. Then we have the next person who is actually really fast, cuts them up a bit. They run into a closed space because he has invisibility, and yeah, he gets obliterated. That's a shotgun. That's what his new shot. That's a shotgun at this point now. That's how many spirit guns he can fire off. Now, not all of them can hit the guy, but just with what does hit him, he's completely taken out. And once more, you can see, like, he's talking about, like, haha, you can't see me, I'm invisible. Kuwabara's like, your cape doesn't hide your ki. You know, he could still sense him easily. And Yusuke completely just can cover an entire hallway. Like, look how many, going back, like, look how many spirit guns he can fire off. And then the last one is supposed to be the muscle guy, and they both just take him out within a single kick. You know, like, they're just flipping him off. Turukune is like, they're way stronger than what Turukune was ready for. Now, here's another impressive thing, is that Kuwabara, his sensing is so good that he's even developed the ability to telepathically communicate with people. He's already shown astral projection. Keep all of this in mind because all of this ends up scaling with energy as you go up. But here we're going to end, I'll be finishing this video with the Yukina arc. But here we can see Toguro going into his 20% form. You'll note that his muscles don't grow to what he was claiming was even like 30%. This is what he's claiming is his 20%. Again, all of this is his false 20%, even if this was his 20%. It's at most 20%. And there's like, this is an insane amount of ki. Be careful, he's showing a monstrous power. This is Toguro taking on both of them at the same time. Vastly superior to Suzaku. This is still them also at their strongest. Yusuke is already amped since he's last fought Suzaku, mind you, and he's at full ray energy. Kuwabara has not shown to get any stronger. He didn't like amp himself while fighting Byakko like Yusuke did, but he's also at full rate energy. This is 20% at best Toguro, fighting both at the same time. He's fast, they can barely keep up. He goes to punch Kuwabara, and he's barely able to react. Where he jumps back, that's him jumping back, and you can see the blow actually punches through, it bulges through his back. as he's sent flying into the wall. He's nearly taken out with a single punch. Even Byakko couldn't come close to this. Yusuke fires a point-blank spirit gun, and what we end up seeing is that he actually is able to react to it. He blocks it with his brother as a shield, like point-blank. He's able to react to speed, like immediately. Like, this is nothing for him. And then he punches Yusuke, though he's able to have his hands in the way to block it. But he still is, like, annihilated. You know, Kuwabara, he actually lost consciousness for a bit from that single punch. This is, again, 20% at best to Toguro. So Kuwabara stands back up, and now he gets a power increase. Even being injured, Toguro can note his increase in power. We've seen their sensing. So he goes in with his sword, and I mean, he can easily keep up, even with his increased power, just easily shoves him back. So now they're both, Kuwabara's been amped by an unknown degree, and Yusuke is also, he's injured, but now they've got one more thing in play, where they do he actually does a spirit gun on Kuwabara to send him into Toguro, where he stabs through him. And you can see the blade actually going through his back, and it actually stabs all the way through him. What this would suggest is that his actual amp is such that his spirit gun, or his spirit sword, would actually be able to pierce someone like Suzaku. Suzaku might not even be able to actually block this. As 20% Toguro is actually faster and stronger and more durable than what even Suzaku was able to show. Especially stronger. Holy crap, definitely stronger than what Suzaku could ever hope to have done. But we actually see, while it did go all the way through him, he has regeneration and easily just pops out the sword and lets it, dissipate. Stands back up, and he's perfectly fine. What we do know is that he wants to fight those two again, especially Yusuke. And we can see he jumps up and kicks Harukane's head off, just because he is not in alliance with him. But to finish off this arc, he goes and meets Yusuke once more, and he actually blitzes him at base 0%, which actually makes sense in a later feat when he obliterates his B-class brother at 0%. You can see he's not able to react to 0% Toguro, who cuts open his shirt without him noticing. He's like, follow me. And here, he's like, to know how to gauge your enemy is a power in itself. You're strong, you could become stronger. So I'm going to show you my true power. And he says, last time I was at 20%. And he goes, now I'm at 60%, and I could, overrun that building in an instant. So we can see what's considered 60% Toguro here. And what we know here is Yusuke is like, I want to become strong. I've only got 2 months. So he goes to Genkai before, this is the beginning of Dark Tournament, and he is ready to train for 2 months. Not 2 weeks this time, but 2 months. And so, before I finish this video, I'm going to show one last feat before we get to the Dark Tournament. He powers up massively now. We have another huge training arc. And for anyone who's seen this, Yusuke is dead tired at this point, and very, very weak in his energy, as he literally sleeps through the whole beginning of this tournament. Here he has at no point stopped training up to this point. Now, important here is these demons here, they know who he is. They're like, the guy who defeated Suzaku and Rando. They know who they are. They are quite famous demons. Urameshi is famous amongst the demons. Like, if we take him, we're famous. They want to kill him. And you can see here, Yusuke's like, I'm so tired. Kuwabara's like, you're sure you're gonna be okay? And Yusuke, Hiei checks him. He says, Yusuke, gets his attention for a split second, and then actually checks him with the sword. And Yusuke easily dodges, followed by more and more swings that Yusuke is easily able to dodge while dead tired. Now, I want to say this. Kuwabara can barely keep track. The demons in the crowd literally can't keep track to such a degree that they're like, what? What are they doing? They can't actually see or make out that they would be potentially even fighting each other. They literally cannot tell what they are doing. Now, this isn't a single, whoa, where'd they go? He disappeared from my eyesight. Like faster than eye calculation here. They are continuously moving within the same confined space at the same distance from these demons, right? It's not like, how do I say this? It's not like, if I'm looking at a person move out of my, line of sight vision so fast that where'd they go? But as if they were to move at a distance from me and I couldn't make them out. Holy crap. And these are demons who aren't even afraid of Suzaku and rando level people. As you'll see, they actually want to easily face and kill Yusuke and the rest of them. They want to kill them so they can become famous. They're not scared of him. They know that they can kill them. That he single-handedly, he was able to kill these people. And they're like, hell yeah, we want to kill you so we can become famous. Like, they're within that ballpark of power. And unbeknownst to them, they have no idea how much weaker they are than post-trained Yusuke at this point, in his suppressed, weakened energy self. So Kuwabara has a lot to catch up in power once again. That's essentially the feat I wanted to show. That is an insane calculation of a feat for speed, because these other people, he's now gotten so fast, so strong, that if he was to face Suzaku here, he would effortlessly one-shot him. Potentially even with punches, but definitely with spirit guns or shotguns. Definitely a shotgun. Which would mean definitely the spirit guns if it was one body. And would hyper blitz the hell out of him. Hiei 2, of course, has also powered up, but that will be shown in the future feats covering in the next video. So, this one I may not have covered as many numbers, but the big amount of numbers will mostly come from Toguro, but also it's not the ideal purpose of this video. Rather to show, once more, the early Yu Yu Hakusho scaling to suggest that Yusuke here is scaling in exponential terms. It is not simply like low multiplicative amounts. He's not simply, now I'm 2 times stronger. He didn't go from D class to hi, I'm still D class and only get 2 times stronger. He's gotten hundreds of times stronger, moving from D class to D class. Now at this point you would argue that he might, this would be the first real argument that you could say Yusuke got to the lowest end of C class. Honestly. This would be the lowest end C class Yusuke, with high end D class levels of power here, the highest level rather, from Yusuke at this point being so tired and low energy. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you see where this is going, especially with those who know where it's going with Toguro. Yu Yu Hakusho scales like crazy. For such a short series, only I believe 112 episodes and only 175 chapters, it has massive growth, and it actually, even not just the scaling is exponential, but the degree of the exponential scaling is exponential. Because the gaps between D class, like the gap between a D class and a C class is so exponentially lower than the gap between a C class and a B class, or a B class to A class, or yada yada. It's disgusting. And I'll show that, but anyways, I've taken enough of your time. I hope you guys enjoy. Love all those subscribers and everything. Love it so much. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe. Definitely comment. I like to comment to everybody that I can. And ciao.
Pastor.